everybody.
Hi,
Welcome to Dice Jailers. I'm Jordan,
I'm Bjorn.
and this week we are going to talk about Rangers, which
Yes, we
I
are.
have been waiting for. But first, before we get into all the other things, Bjorn, do you have any announcements for the people? I know we didn't talk
Uh,
about any announcements or anything, but
no, honestly, my biggest news, I got dose 2 of my vaccine
yay,
yesterday.
yay.
So, yay me. Man, it takes it out of you. I've been exhausted all day today, but glad to have it. And considering I work in a clinic where we see patients in person regularly, that's going to take a lot of stress off of work for me. I mean, we're good. We sanitize, wash hands, wear masks, all of that. But this is a little extra peace of mind. Like
Mm-hmm.
frontline healthcare workers, we need
Yeah,
this shit.
just a little bit.
Kind of important for my job. Um, but yeah, that's that. And then the other work thing with the clinic, having a little get together for a socially distanced dinner at the office tomorrow night, whereupon it's going to be discussed of how I can potentially use my performance skills at work, like
Oh,
doing yeah, they want me to do educational videos for like how aspects of our patient portal works, understanding what insurance may or may not cover, explaining to patients why they need to contact their pharmacy first, why their provider can't always do it for them, like the kind of shit that you don't know unless you're told, where
right.
but it's like they want the information to be relayed to the patients, and the thought is more people are likely to watch a 2 to 3 minute video than they are to read pages upon pages of text.
Absolutely. I would definitely fall into that camp of people that would much rather just watch a video than read a thing.
Yep, and it sounds like I'm going to be basically given free reign for voices, costumes, and personas for
That's hilarious and also is a responsibility you should have because I would not use it well.
I'm not saying I will use it well. I got a wolf mask sitting right over there that
Oh
is going
no.
to make an appearance whether they want to or not.
That goddamn wolf mask.
Yeah. So um, there is that, and East Side Actors Rep. The video got finished. It looked great, and now we're looking at the next round of scripts. And the rumor is that one of the people involved wants to try and do a musical. I don't know
What?
how they're going to make that work over Zoom, but I guess they found one where everything's public domain.
Okay.
But I don't know how that's going to work. But I just want to be a fly on the wall for that process.
Like timing wise, I don't see how that'll work, but I'm interested. Like
Same.
that sounds huh.
Yeah. I'm like, this sounds insane. This sounds like it'll never work. And it sounds like I want to see you try. So, yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
Oh, and I watched friggin' Vampires this week. That was a lot of
Oh
fun.
yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You're in that.
I sure am. That's actually the only, well, one of the two things that I was going to talk about in announcements time, and
Yeah,
like
you up in there
three
looking like
things.
the love child of Pharrell and Jamiroquai.
Yep. If they were sponsored by YooHoo.
Yeah, like with a little bit of the man in the yellow hat from Curious George
A
sprinkled
little
in there.
bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a big old hat.
It's really funny. It's so big. That hat is all made of cardboard. It is not comfortable to wear.
I believe you, but it makes me happy.
But yeah, that's what I've got going on. Vampires of the Neverwoods still happening. Tomorrow, as long as my notes and emails are all correct, we are debuting the Optimism storyline. So
Fun.
that means that all three will be a thing that exists in the world now. Which I'm excited for because the Optimism one is, I mean, they're all real different from each other, but
Sure.
the Optimism one is real different.
Yeah, I watched the realism. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, the realism one is pretty great. Uh, Personally, I think pessimism is the funniest,
Sure.
but I haven't really gotten like full timings with the tech and everything for optimism yet. So we'll see.
If
It
I
could
have
be
time,
much funnier.
I'm gonna try and watch the other ones. But
You should you should get your whole work at that dinner tomorrow to watch optimism.
I'm gonna pitch it. I'll be like, hey, y'all want to tune
It's
into something insane?
definitely a work safe event.
You know what? I work with people that would be totally down with it.
That's a healthy workplace.
It really
Uh,
is. No, all honesty, I work in a very, very healthy work environment. The idea of people taking just straight up mental health days and whatnot is not only allowed, it's encouraged. Like
mm,
it's a place where like you got to take care of yourself. I get, which makes sense. Like it's a naturopathic practice, so
mhm.
they're going to be very into all that. So, no, good times.
Oh, they'd actually probably really enjoy the show then.
Probably.
But yeah, Vampires of the Neverwood through Annex Theater with the Lava Kingdoms. Just hit up Annex Theater for details for the donation price tickets, which is a thing that's really nice that they're doing with this show, is that the ticket price is donation. So pay something, but pay what you can,
Yeah.
and if you can pay more, pay more. Which I mean, it's just a super cool thing. And also with announcements besides Neverwood, this episode is the last episode that you will see this particular room behind me, uh, because by this time next week I will be in a different place, which is also why half of my knickknacks and things aren't up there. It's just like my plants, and if you can kind of see an empty bookshelf, and I haven't put my booze in boxes yet. Um,
Oh, I just thought
those
you
will
drank
just
it all.
no, those will just go in a backpack and shift.
There you go.
I'm not gonna drink an entire bar, sir.
Not with that attitude.
Good gods.
Got to have some faith in yourself.
I mean, I could if I worked at it, but I have other things to do with my days.
It's true. This is true. But you've got to have your focus in the right place.
Yeah, I mean, if I don't have the right focus, I'm gonna miss my marks.
You will like you just won't hit the mark. Like you'll be off like shooting an arrow.
Yep, and you know
That's
who
the
never
Rangers.
misses the mark?
What's that?
No, never misses the mark.
Yeah.
Rangers.
Yeah. So
My favorite class. My favorite class.
Rangers are an interesting class. Like out the gate, I think one of the biggest things to always note about them is the fact they get a D10 hit die.
Yep.
Like
Oh yeah.
I think a lot of people forget that about them because I think a lot of people want to lump them in with the rogue, and
Yep. Which they do have. The ranger honestly is the class that has the most synergy with the rogue, and I will explain why later because it's the coolest thing.
sure.
Because rangers are amazing. They are not bad. People will constantly crack jokes at them, and they are not bad. And you know why they're not bad is either because you played one before Tasha's came out and
True.
the quality of life upgrades, or you played them in 3.5 in Pathfinder and you're tired of not being overpowered. Which, you know what? Screw you, it's called balance.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of any class that gets a D10 or more as a hit die.
Mhm.
I like having hit points, and
Yep. And with the D10, if you're playing a proper archer, you can have your dump stat be con and it doesn't affect you negatively because
Sure.
you're not getting hit.
keep telling yourself that con's not a dump stat.
It is.
But like what's cool about Rangers is you can focus in either strength or dexterity.
Mhm.
If you want, you're probably taking dexterity.
Probably.
Let's just be honest.
It's the archer bread and butter.
It is, and while you technically don't have to be an archer as a ranger,
No, because you can two weapon fighting about it. I mean, and that's part of where strength comes in is you can two weapon fighting, put your stuff in strength and dual wield long swords.
this is true. This is true. My thing is, I think rangers just get so much more mileage out of dex.
Oh, absolutely.
Just to have the versatility. If it were me, highest stat is going to be dex. Con next, just because I want to have the versatility of being able to go up close and be ranged
Wisdom,
and never
baby.
have to. That's my third one because you got to think about the spellcasters. But again, this goes into what we talked about with the paladins. This is a class where you may feel that you have to boost 3 different stats.
I mean,
And
that's
find a
only
way to
if
balance to it.
that's only if you're, like you and put a heavy emphasis on hit points, which I do not.
Sure, yeah. I'm aware, fighter with a 10 constitution.
Hey, it's worked fine.
Debatable.
It's been fine. I mean, sure, I've almost died a couple times, but that's what we have healers for.
And that's not inaccurate. Um,
Plus, my whole character design was that he's bad at being a soldier. So,
so when you think about a ranger, like what are some of the quintessential things you think of, or who are some of the characters, like really well known characters in lore that you're like, oh, that's a
yeah.
ranger.
I mean, and obviously there's the whole, multiple books about Drizzt.
We
I
would
mean,
be
that's
failing if we did not
yeah.
mention Driz
It's
Jordan.
it's Drizzt. Like, eh. But also, I mean, another classic example, Legolas. I mean, pretty much any fantasy archer. Like,
Sure.
I would also say that that Aragorn skews closer to ranger
Well,
than
he,
fighter
he's
because
described as a ranger.
yeah, he is a ranger, and a lot of people forget about that. But like, really, it's pop culture. Like, basically any archer is going to be a ranger, except Hawkeye. I actually think Hawkeye is more of a rogue.
I mean, Hawkeye exists. Like he's
Yeah,
he,
Hawkeye's
he's
fine.
present.
Yeah, weirdly enough, Green Arrow, artificer.
Sure. I mean, Green Arrow is just amazing because boxing glove arrow. Like, let's just
Exactly.
boxing glove arrow.
But yeah, it's all of your different like usually they're portrayed as kind of a lone wolf character or the like I'm just here with my big beast and we're out in the forest being stealthy and mysterious and naturey.
Sure. It's kind of where the fighter and the druid mix a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
With a splash of rogue.
we definitely have a little splash of it. Not as much as say an Oath of the Ancients paladin, because
True.
that one, they have their oath that they're upholding and protecting. And nature, rangers are more similar to druids, where it's like they're just kind of at one with nature.
Yeah, it's not really like they're specifically protecting nature. It's just like I've got nature on my back, so
Yeah,
what you gonna
they're
do?
super
Yep.
comfortable with
And
it.
the biggest thing with rangers that I want to mention before we go into subclasses is
Yeah,
talking about the ranger spells. Because I believe that ranger spells are so overlooked that like it's important to outright be like, hey, by the way, spells, especially because some of you that may have played a ranger in the past, like in 3.5 or in Pathfinder, or in just other earlier systems that were kind of modeled in that era, is that rangers can be an off healer again, because with the introduction of Tasha's and the expanded spell list, they once again have Revivify and Greater Restoration and
yeah,
Enhance Ability. And those are big things that, like, people that have played Rangers in the past used to kind of have in their back pocket as like the oh fuck what do we do button.
yeah, and those are huge spells. Like those are even bigger than
Mm-hmm.
things like Cure Wounds or Healing Word. I think
Absolutely.
because like Revivify, oh crap, someone's dead. Hey, we can fix that. Or
Yeah.
Greater Restoration to remove things like curses
Mm-hmm.
or petrification. Before we go into the subclasses, I
Yeah.
think one of the coolest things about Rangers is at the beginning of your campaign or adventure or whatever you're calling it, you can really do a great job of tooling them to that specific setting because of the favored
Yes.
enemy ability. And I think that's a great motivator for just why someone's going along on an adventure. You're playing
Mm-hmm.
Curse of Strahd. Awesome. My favorite enemy is undead.
Yep.
That's simple. You're now this ranger who wants to cleanse the land and is hunting undead.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't be an
And
easier
well,
motivation.
Strahd's your biggest, baddest undead you're gonna find,
You're
so.
not wrong. But yeah, like you get a lot of other cool abilities too, like
Mm-hmm.
natural explorer. So
Yeah.
difficult terrain isn't slowing you down. At level 2, you're getting a fighting style. Like you
Mm-hmm.
said, spell casting, like that's a thing.
It's,
You're gonna use Hunter's Mark a lot, and there's nothing wrong
you
with
are.
that. Like Hunter's Mark is great.
There is one thing that when you started to talk about like all the other things,
Mhm.
it does bring to mind the fact that rangers, above, in my opinion, any other class, they are the most useful without their archetype.
Sure. Like
You know
they
what I mean?
they don't need it as much because all rangers have a real strong similarity. Like you could build whatever you're going to choose for your preferred archetype. I could choose whatever I preferred for mine,
Mm-hmm.
and there's still going to be a lot of similarities
Yes.
between our two characters.
Mm-hmm.
It's not to say you can't go out there and do something really real different, but I mean, when I'm
No.
looking at proficiencies, I'm probably taking nature and animal handling and survival and stealth. Like those would be the
Mhm.
first ones I look at.
Or maybe like a perception.
Yeah, like
Mhm.
those would be the first ones I look at, like dex and wisdom skills,
Mhm.
because it's a ranger.
Well, and it's also with the archetypes, they feel more icing on the cake.
Yeah.
As opposed to other classes where like, no, this archetype, like this is the thing I do. Not as much. It just kind of makes the things that you already do as a ranger better. Which I find fascinating about 5th edition's iteration of Rangers.
So I'm dying to know of the archetypes because I know this, like this is your class. You love rangers, and I used to love to quote Joe Cat's Crap Guide to D&D talking about rangers, saying just play a fighter with a bow, it's better. And I believe that was true about the Beastmaster pre-Tasha's.
Yep.
Tasha's has saved us, and the Beastmaster is now playable.
Yes.
Thank goodness.
Because before, admittedly, before, the Beastmaster was garbage, and that's why people hated the 5th edition Ranger, was because the Beastmaster used to be the most overpowered, because it was basically having another player character in the party as your animal companion, which was too goddamn much. It was too much. Stop being selfish. You can't be an entire party by yourself.
Or can you? So yeah, where do you go in the archetypes of like, this is my build?
I mean, my love of all loves, because it was my first character that I ever created in D&D.
Sure.
My heart will always go to the Beastmaster, especially because it's good now. So I'm just kind of taking Beastmaster and just setting it over here because it is my little beautiful baby boy, and you will not talk bad about him even when he messes up.
Well, but again, when I think of Rangers, that's the first archetype I always think of.
It really is. It is the quintessential Ranger. Is I have my animal companion, and I'm out here being a Ranger with my dude.
Yeah,
like,
it's
a classic a boy and his dog.
Yeah, it's Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe.
Yes, like it's most Rangers from pop culture draw off of that Beastmaster. So we're just gonna take Beastmaster, just our beautiful baby boy, and just right over here. You're good, bud. And outside of that, my Ranger inclinations go to a relatively newer one that is my personal favorite, and that is the Swarm Keeper.
Oh, go on.
The Swarm Keeper. I'm head over heels for the Swarm Keeper. Like, and I think it's partly because it's still kind of like the Beastmaster, where you still have creatures with you, but it's the idea of you have a bunch of fake creatures alongside you, just backing you up all the time. And like, to part of why I gravitate to this is because the Swarm Keeper gives me a little bit of when I was younger and stupid obsessed with Naruto, because except for the fillers, it is good. One of the characters that I was most like interested in that really wasn't focused on at all was oh god, now his name's escaping me, because I was thinking like the guy that's not Shikamaru. Oh nope, the name's gone for my brain right now, but Shino, who has all of the bugs, and all of his stuff is based off of this swarm of bugs that just comes out of his jacket and helps him out. And so it's the idea of you have all these fake creatures that are around and on you in a swarm like always, and they help you out with your attacks, with your spells. When you get stronger, you get extra movement. Like it even says when you take the Swarm Keeper, you get Mage Hand as a free cantrip, but that Mage Hand appears as one of your spirits rather than a hand. So like one of my players in Icewind Dale she's a swarm keeper, and she's playing all her entire swarm as tiny pandas, which is hilarious. But
Yeah.
also, if she casts Mage Hand, it's just this tiny flying panda that goes and picks up the thing. And I just like thematically, it's fun, it's cool. You also get the bonus of like when your swarm shows up and you're doing damage once per turn, when you hit someone, they take just an extra d6 from your swarm, just smacking it also with whatever weapon you're hitting with. And that's ranged or melee.
So the little
Uh,
extra damage, a little cherry on
yeah.
top.
And also, but you can choose, like, it's either the extra damage, or they have to make a strength save or be moved, or also your swarm moves you,
Nice.
which can be really cool for positioning. Like, if you're an archer, you've use your 30 feet of movement to get here, do your shot, and while you're shooting, your swarm like scoots up under your feet and moves you back 5 feet. Like, and and part of it is just the visualization and descriptions of all the things you can do with the swarm that are just so much cooler than describing what some of the other classes do, the other subclasses do. And
Fair.
that's why it's just so big for me. Also, when you get your biggest thing for that archetype, you can just disappear into your swarm, and you and your swarm kind of fade out and teleport to another spot within 30 feet. Like, you basically get free Misty Step.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And like, when you get, you're level 11, where you're usually in that level drought, your swarm gets bigger.
Okay.
And so it's just one of those things that there isn't really a low for it in my mind. And then you have the extra fun of all the thematic and descriptive things that you can do. It just makes it just a fucking home run of a subclass.
Yeah, I've only just started looking at the Swarm Keeper, and
Mm-hmm.
it's different. I didn't expect to like it a whole lot,
Mm-hmm.
and
I
then
feel
looking
that.
at it, I was like, it's a lot better than I initially gave it credit for.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I'm gonna go back to the beginning.
As you do.
Player's Handbook. I think most of the best subclasses in the game are in the Player's Handbook. Like,
I would agree.
there are a couple classes where I think some of the supplementals that have come out really do give the best. But for
We'll have
me,
to we'll have to add addendums when the next book comes out.
I know. For me, it's real simple which one I like best, and that is the Hunter.
Yep,
I
I
like
feel
the
that.
idea of having this favorite enemy and having the ability to not only hunt it down and find it, but then eradicate it once you do.
Yes.
Um, and I love that there are almost subclasses within the subclass. Like,
Absolutely.
do you want to be a Colossus Slayer? Do you want to be a Horde Breaker? Like, what is the way you see this character going? My personal favorite of them, I like the Colossus Slayer. Just the
Mhm.
idea, and again, I'll use Curse of Strahd as an example a lot because it is my favorite of the pre-printed adventures. You can have it that your favorite enemy is undead and that you've got direct beef with Strahd because maybe you're from Barovia. And
Yeah.
so having this ability that when you do finally go into battle with the big bad, where you're going to be doing this extra damage on top, like I think it's a great build.
Yeah.
It doesn't go and get any sort of like extra spells like some of the other
Yeah.
archetypes, but that's okay because once you hit third level, you take your offensive ability, and again, I'm taking
Mhm.
Colossus Slayer, an extra D8 damage when I hit a foe that's already taken damage once per turn. Love
Yeah.
it. More damage is more
It's
damage.
it's like a mini Toll the Dead.
Yeah, and then at level 7, getting defensive tactics, and I love the idea that you can have a bolstered defense against a
Mhm.
creature with multi attack, or
Yeah.
you can have it that opportunity attacks against you just have disadvantage. And then when you hit level 11, you get another combat feature,
Mhm.
either being able to do a volley or of arrows or a whirlwind attack.
Yeah. Which
Like,
that it's that at level 11 is really where this subclass for me starts to shine,
Yeah.
because you start to get back some at level 11 you can get volley or whirlwind attack, which are things that most archers are missing from past editions of Dungeons and Dragons, because those used to just be feats.
Yeah. So I really love that there is a ranger build that is just focused on kicking ass,
Mhm.
but I don't feel like you have to sacrifice any of your natural hunting skills and
Yeah.
finding shit. It's just you could really lean into that explorer, that tracker,
Mhm.
and then once you do find your target, you're ready to go with some big damage. And I honestly almost went with the monster slayer
Mhm.
over the hunter, but
The Monster Slayer is also really cool,
it
but
is it's
I
it's
I
it's,
do
it's
agree
so
with you that the
similar.
Hunter, yeah, the
Yeah,
Hunter definitely beats it out.
yeah. It just
Uh,
has a little bit more, just from my own personal play style. It
mhm.
suits what I would do as a ranger very well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the difference between Hunter and Monster Slayer comes down to like if you're if you're building your ranger and you're thinking about going Hunter, but your like favored enemy or your like thematic arc enemy is this big mage, then maybe Monster Slayer.
Right, right. Like
Because Monster
you're
Slayer
more
gets all
accurate.
that anti magic.
Correct. Which, yeah, the hunter doesn't get that so much.
Yeah.
And again, like any class, depending on your adventure, it's going to depend on what's going to sing more or
Exactly.
less. Um, Now, going off of that, here's where I'm real curious. 'Cause I know you love this class,
Mm-hmm.
but there's got to be an archetype you're not big on.
Yeah, the things that my lovable baby boy does not do well.
Yeah,
I mean, first, just as a class, uh, my lovable baby boy, uh, kind of needs a multi-class.
I won't go so far as to say needs, but man, is this a class that just
It really
gets
benefits from a
so much.
multi-class, and that's one thing that kind of hurts me a little bit, uh, just because like me as a person, I want to ranger all day, every day until the moment
Sure.
I drop. But like, not multi-classing is like multi-classing doesn't hurt you, and that big temptation to multi-class, I say, is like a weakness for the class in general.
Though I do think there are a large number of classes you can multi-class into. Like
Oh yeah,
Rogue is the obvious one.
yes,
There's
very yes,
so much synergy. And even if you only do one level of Rogue, just to have that extra sneak attack,
hmm
an
especially
additional,
if you're a beastmaster,
yeah,
because your animal companion counts as the enemy being engaged with something else. Just to think about
correct.
that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and being able to get an extra D6 every round, it adds up, especially over
yeah,
the course of a campaign. I would say if you're going to multi-class, do it early.
yeah. Also
Um,
yes,
like do it within your first 5 levels, I would say.
also yes,
So you get the mileage out of it. I also think there's a lot to be said because you're going to have a decent wisdom score. There's a lot to be said about multi-classing into cleric.
yes. Like remember the archer cleric that I made?
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a lot that can be done there.
Yeah. But like, and also as far as the class, like the the spells that you get aren't varied,
No.
so you're gonna find yourself using the same spells over and over. Like you're gonna drop most of your spell slots into cure wounds and hunter's mark, and later
Pass without a trace.
revivify and pass without a trace.
Yep.
You're not really gonna use all the different spells that much, which I think is kind of unfortunate,
Yeah.
because it does kind of pigeonhole, and I don't like that as much. But
No,
the
if you want to play a combatant that's really getting quality magic out there, like go see the Eldritch Knight.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
you'll be happier, or if you're doing, or you can do a Blade Singer Wizard if you really want to do
Hmm.
like a spell sword kind of thing.
Yeah,
Rangers
it's
don't make good spell swords.
no, they don't. You know what they also don't do well, because it would spread them too thin,
Mhm.
is that unlike in the past, your ranger, it won't help you to be charismatic, and that hurts me too because I love my charisma heavy characters. Because like
Yeah,
in the past, in the past, dealing with animals used to be charisma checks. It is no longer.
Nope, it's wisdom now.
Yep.
And yeah, it's
Yeah. And that's the
there's
thing I miss just because I like to be a charismatic pretty boy. Uh, what? An actor wants to be pretty?
so weird, right? So weird.
Uh,
But so
yeah.
yeah, if there is a subclass that you would stay away from, like
I personally, I'm not interested at all by the Horizon Walker.
really,
Yeah, the Horizon Walker, it just like yes, the Horizon Walker, like you get a bunch of extra mobility.
Mhm.
But I mean, if you're playing a ranger, you're probably playing an archer. You probably don't need that much extra mobility because you're
sure.
already going to be away from things. As well as thematically, the idea of a Horizon Walker just doesn't fit in very many campaigns.
I think that's a great point. You know,
Yeah.
you in the right setting, the Horizon Walker absolutely sings. But when I ran Curse of Strahd last
Mm-hmm.
year, one of the players in it, Jay,
Mm-hmm.
his ranger was a Horizon Walker, and there were some class features he never got to use
No.
because
Like he used
they had no
like
fit
I remember him
in that
using
campaign.
detect portal like twice, and the answer was always nah, you detect nothing.
There are no portals. Like they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah, every time he used it, there was no result, and you're just not going to find that result there. So, no, I can see that. I like the extra damage they get because again,
That's true.
combat's part of the game, but there are other ways to get
Yeah.
extra damage. Um,
And so you're just like as much as ranger like you don't like really need your subclass to make your ranger be a ranger.
right.
You still want to use your subclass's stuff. And Horizon Walker, like, unless you're in a very specific campaign, you're just not gonna use it.
Well, and
What about you?
well, it's funny. I looked at the Horizon Walker and the Gloomstalker, and I do like them both. However, I think they should both be under the same um, archetype, much like the different types of hunter. I
Mm-hmm.
I think the Gloomstalker and Horizon Walker are very similar, and you have this one from the Underdark, and this one that's kind of more from the Shadowfell that's sworn to the Raven Queen, and there's
Mm-hmm.
one more that goes in there with them that is kind of those types,
Yep.
but it's my least
Yeah.
favorite of all the Rangers, and that's the Fey Wanderer.
I feel that.
Like I feel like this subclass tried too hard, and it's
Yeah.
you get things like like charm person, and you get this fey magic where you're able to kind of like charm and beguile people, and I see where they're trying to do that, but it's kind of a bummer that to have anything that would sort of work at all in a ranger class, you have
Mm-hmm.
to use this um subtype. Now it's cool when you make any sort of charisma check, you get to add your wisdom modifier to it with
Yep.
this otherworldly glamour, but again, I wish other rangers could be, more charismatic instead. And
Mm-hmm.
level 7, you get that beguiling twist. The
Yeah.
magic of the Feywild makes it the advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened. The frightened, I guess, is useful because let's face it, if you're playing a ranger, I'm not saying everyone, there's a real high probability you're already an elf or a half elf.
Yes.
Like
That is.
the
It's kind of
elf,
the elf thing to do.
yeah, the elf slash half elf ranger is such a well-known archetype within D&D
Yeah.
that I have a hard time seeing that ability being overly useful. I I don't see the synergy between this Fey Wanderer and a ranger. Maybe that's just me. Like I'm sure there are those who could come up with this great,
Mm-hmm.
compelling character, but I I imagine if you're going to have some sort of Fey spirit type class, to me it's a charisma class. Like
Yeah.
like it's a College of Glamour bard, or it's the Archfey warlock,
Mm-hmm.
or give me an Archfey Sorcerer. Like,
Yeah.
go ahead with those. I just don't see it in this class that's not charismatic. And okay, again, yes, adding your
Yeah.
wisdom mod onto these charisma checks is kind of cool, but I just don't see it
It's
all being tied together within the class.
yeah, it's one of those things that fits much better with past editions of Ranger,
Yeah.
where communicating with and learning tricks with and just working with your animal companion was off of charisma
Yep.
rather than wisdom. And I really think that's where like the Fey Wanderer kind of shows up as a brainchild, is like, well, I remember this ranger being charismatic. Yeah, that's because it was helpful before.
Yeah. And so I like that it's there, but I don't ever see myself playing it.
It's very much one of those niche archetypes, which that's
and,
always going to be low on our list.
and I have to agree with you on the Gloomstalker in the sense that
See, I actually really
the
like
Horizon
the
Walker.
yeah,
apologize.
I really like the Gloomstalker actually.
I meant Horizon Walker again. I put them both in the same, but yeah, it doesn't feel like a ranger to me. Rangers are of this plane. I know there can be extra planar rangers, but unless you're playing some sort of massive plane hopping campaign, which if you are, good on you, because
that's difficult.
Yeah, it is. Like, that shit's cool, and then you got to dig up old source books.
Yeah, you do.
On a lot of that stuff. Which, hey, pro tip: if you're looking up source books for a lot of the interplanar stuff, find the 3rd edition and not the 4th edition, because the 4th edition has the same information as the 3rd. It just has less of it. I found a lot of PDFs online for that, and the same book, 4th edition, will be a good 100 pages shorter. And so
that's because 4th edition, like if I had a subclass of D&D that I disliked, right? It's 4th edition.
Well, and I'll say though, I appreciate that we're not seeing 5th edition reprints of some of these books, because you don't need them.
You really don't.
There are very few stat blocks.
It'd be cool to get these. It'd be cool to get like, more artists in for new like art for the stuff. Like that would be dope. But, yeah, we don't really need it information wise.
No, I don't need a source book for the various planes. Now, if you give me a campaign setting, if you give me a level 1 through 12 adventure that takes place across various planes, now I'm interested.
That would be wild, and I hope that happens.
Same though. Have it based out of Sigil, the City of Doors, and I'm in.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
I want more Sigil. I want the City of Doors.
It's such a cool concept.
Now, that's a place where your Horizon Walker Ranger would just belong.
Yeah, a Horizon Walker's the main character in that. Like,
exactly. Yeah. And
like, I know we talked a lot, like when we talked about like being in a party and creating characters and working with your party, how like, oh, no one's the main character. If you do that, your Horizon Walker's the main character. I mean, sorry.
Well, I think to be honest, I think in any campaign setting, there are going to be times where it's very clear whose arc of the story it is. And you've been playing in a campaign I've been running for almost 2.5 years now, and I think we can inarguably say that yours and Jamie's characters have been at the center of the story.
Oh yeah,
the most. It's just kind of how it worked out. Now, the others have had their moments in the sun. Phoenix, his character, the fact that we did this whole time travel thing with it.
Yeah, and his whole one of our main villains for multiple arcs was trying to redeem his brother.
Yeah, so there was that, but what it all basically came back down to was this threat against the continent, and yours and Jamie's characters, your personal tie to it. So, but I mean, going off of that, bring that item back to Rangers. It's a great class to either be that main or incredibly powerful supporting character.
Yeah.
Like the fact that if you're doing Tomb of Annihilation and you're traveling to the land of Chult, have your ranger be a local to Chult. that's a gift to your DM because
Yeah,
then your
I
DM
think
be
yeah,
like,
that's
oh,
the
you
biggest
would
thing that
know
you can do
this.
for your DM as a player if you're going to play a ranger is just like ask the DM where you start your
Yep,
characters from there.
exactly.
Like that's it you're going to have so much more fun as a ranger and your DM's going to be able to throw you all kinds of things that way.
And it's really good to have characters that are a bit of a liaison between the DM and the party.
Mhm.
Just that character that's going to have some local knowledge, the
Yeah.
stuff you don't have to roll for. I think the worst thing that can happen is when a party has to get through a door and the DM foolishly has them roll, and they all roll ones forever and can never open the door. Or by
Yes.
the same thing, needing to know a piece of local lore to find a location. And this is where rangers are amazing, is
Mhm.
they can be from wherever is needed, or going on with the favored enemy when they're trying to recall information about whatever their favorite enemy is. They're getting advantage to those rolls. Like
Yeah.
it's it's super useful, super cool, and I would
And
say,
every archetype gets it
yeah,
cuz it's not part of an archetype.
nope, you get your favorite enemies. And
Yeah.
honestly, to the DMs out there, if you have a ranger in your party, whatever their favorite enemy is, have a little story hook where the party is hunting one of these things.
Mhm.
It lets your ranger feel like a friggin' star.
It
And
really does.
I think
And your
that's one of the
ranger
most
deserves it because it's a wonderful, amazing class.
I will concede that a ranger is a good class now. And my biggest beef with the existence of rangers pre Tasha's was that the monster, the Beastmaster, the
Yep.
Beastmaster was utter garbage.
Yep.
And
Because it took up your entire action.
yeah,
Oh.
and the thing is, like, looking at the number of things that were superior to it, like a familiar could do
Mm-hmm.
more than your animal companion. And then once the battlesmith came along for artificers,
Yeah,
it was completely outclassed and it needed an errata. So I'm,
it
I'm
did.
glad I'm glad it got it. And frankly, um, while I did say the hunter is my favorite, and it absolutely is, were I to ever play a ranger, odds are very high I'd play a friggin'
Yeah.
beastmaster.
Because it's so cool to have an animal companion with you, especially now that it doesn't get in the way.
Yeah,
And I know 100% the reason why the Beastmaster's animal companion was nerfed into the fucking dirt is because in past editions it was so overpowered to have your
right.
animal companion that leveled up with you, got stronger with you. It's the reason why druids don't really get an animal companion.
Which I miss. I do
Yeah,
miss that. I
because
I, I
animal
liked the animal
companions
companion
are
of 3.5.
yeah, animal companions are wonderful, but they are overpowered. They are
Yeah.
basically another player character in the party. And if your animal companion is a bear in any of the earlier editions, none of your teammates, none of your party members need to play a tank class
Nope.
because
You've
you
got one.
have a bear.
You have a bear. Um, I will say, if you're picking an animal companion, choose carefully. And when I say choose
Yes,
carefully, make sure you don't come up with a combination that's going to frustrate your DM too much, because they will kill the shit out of that animal.
absolutely.
They will, they will
Yeah.
nuke it happily.
Yep.
Happily, they will kill it dead.
And I mean,
So
you can get it back.
you can get a new one.
You can get a new one. It takes a long rest
It does.
of specifically getting your animal companion back. And if you annoy your DM like that, your DM will probably say, because it doesn't specifically say during a long rest, it
Yep.
says you need 8 hours of a thing.
Yep.
So if you annoy your DM like that, your DM's going to say it's 8 hours outside of a long rest.
They sure will. They sure will.
So be forewarned with that. And that's why to all of you that dislike the 5th edition Ranger because it's not overpowered,
Yeah, like,
Like-
I'm not big on any class that's overpowered. I
Yeah.
feel that fifth ed is extremely balanced class to class.
Mhm.
There is no one class that I say this is garbage top to bottom. And
Yeah.
honestly, one of my biggest issues with the Ranger was a misconception. I initially thought it was a D8 hit die.
Nope.
Like, because it's like that kind of class, it feels like it should be. And then I see it's a D10. I'm going, those extra hit points go a long way.
Well, it used to be it in past editions you were at that lower tier of hit points. And in this one they bumped up the hit points for it to be a martial class so that the people that like to play two weapon fighters rather than play archers,
Yep.
They could still do that and it wasn't harmful to them.
Or you know, play ranger, take your first 2 levels in ranger, get that 2 weapon fighting or archery or whatever you're going to do. Then you take 1 level in fighter and you take a second fighting style. So you have both archery and 2 weapon fighting and just be a combat badass, baby.
You can just play a variant human and take the feat, or just wait till level 4 and take the feat.
You can. The feat and the ability are a little different though in what they do.
Are they?
Yeah, they're a touch different. I mean, the
Okay.
difference is slight, but the thing is, you can actually have both and have it be.
Well, no, I'm talking about the fighting style feat now.
Oh,
the
that's
two-weapon
right. They do
fighting
have that
feat.
now.
Yeah, the fighting style feat where you just get an extra fighting style.
No. Go ahead and take that 2 weapon fighting at level 2, multi-class into fighter to take archery, and then if you did variant human for your feat, take something like observant. So your perception checks are just
just
off,
to the
off
moon.
the charts from level 1.
That would be oh my god. You would miss nothing.
You would like again, if we're talking about feats for a character, I think observant is one of the best feats to take for a ranger.
I mean,
Like,
if you're an archer, you're taking sharpshooter.
yeah, I mean, ignoring 3/4 cover is huge.
Also, it's power attack with a bow.
It is. It absolutely is.
It's my favorite thing.
Well, and also like talking about the utility of sharpshooter with a ranger. Yeah. You'll have that, you know, basically, you know, the ranged power attack that it is. So if at any point you have advantage, let her rip, because now you don't care about that -5 so much. And if you don't, the fact that unless something has full cover and is out of your long range, you don't care. You can hit them.
It's just so, I love how goofy sharpshooter can make some moments.
Yeah.
Because just like, all right, sharpshooter, how far away are they? Oh, they're like 500 feet. I shoot it.
And I would argue, you know, we talked early on about iconic characters we would consider a ranger, and there is one very iconic character that I think can go under multiple classes.
Talking about Odysseus?
I am not talking about Odysseus.
Okay.
I'm talking about a very, very famous character of English lore who robbed from the rich and gave to the poor.
You talking about Mash Out Posse, Robin Hoods.
Yeah. Like I would argue that Robin of the
Hood. That's a shout out for like the 2 hip hop heads in the group.
I would argue that you could make a build of Robin Hood that is a ranger. I know that, you know, rogues are more associated with thievery, but this is a dude who lives in the woods, hides via pass without a trace, can hide in plain sight. Like, this is a ranger.
Robin Hood is 100% a ranger that took a level dip in rogue.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, depending on which Robin Hood, might have taken a level dip in fighter.
That's very true.
Because
I would argue, depending on which, might have been a level dip in bard.
Sure.
If it's Robin Hood Men in Tights, it's definitely a level dip in bard.
I mean, it's a level dip in everything, because it's Carrie Elwes, and Carrie Elwes can do no wrong.
You are right.
But I would say, if we're going back to Errol Flynn, the classic adventures of Robin Hood, I would call that one a ranger fighter.
Absolutely.
Right there.
Absolutely. Like, unless there was enough rogue in it to to get to the second archetype and swashbuckler it.
Yeah.
But like, it'd be so much easier to make it there with just fighter.
Exactly.
Just
yeah.
Ranger with a Dexy fighter in it.
And but again, like we said, there's so much potential with the various multi-classing you can do.
And it's weird because for me, it's a strength and weakness to the class.
I agree, because if you were playing a campaign that went from level 1 all the way to level 20, I think it's important to always look at that capstone ability and ask yourself, how much do I care about this ability? Because there are some classes, barbarian, that I mean, I'm just like, don't give it up. You're getting such a massive boost, but
Mhm.
the foe slayer
It's
ability,
not. Yeah.
yeah, like once on each of your turns, you get to add your wisdom mod to the attack roll or the damage of an attack that you make against a favored enemy. And
That's 4 at best.
exactly,
I mean, maybe 5 or 6 with some magical assistance, but like
but probably not. Like,
at
and
that point you're level 20.
yeah, that's not that much damage. So I look at that ability and I say, well, it's not that great.
Mhm.
So now it's time to multi-class.
Yep. And especially like multiclassing earlier than that, because also Feral Senses isn't that great now
No.
that you can take a feat for another fighting style and take blind fighting, and
Yep.
then it's the same.
It is. So I would argue that if you're gonna play a ranger, okay, obviously your first level is ranger. You chose the class. Good for
Yeah.
you. Awesome. Enjoy that D10 hit die. Have at least a 14 in Constitution. Heard it here
You don't
first.
need it. You
Gotta
don't need
have
it.
gotta
Nope.
have hit points.
You don't need it. You
Yeah, you do.
don't. You are Dexy. You are away from things if you're an archer. You will be fine without those hit points.
I keep telling yourself that.
Bjorn's just scared at low levels.
Uh,
Also, barbarian main. You like hit points.
I do, man. D12 is my favorite die. It
Every
gives me
class does not need hit points.
I will agree to disagree till I die. And I will die after you because my character had hit points and yours didn't.
No, my character dodged.
Okay. How's that help your con save?
Being away.
I agree to disagree.
I
But
stay away from things and I don't get hit.
but this is why, like I'm saying, for that second level, like when you level up the first time as a ranger, that's honestly where I say take that multi-class.
Mhm.
Multi-class right away, level 2. And I think your big three and a half to look at is Rogue has better synergy than anything.
Mhm.
You pointed that out right away, and
Yep.
I can't argue with that. Like I
Mhm.
love the synergy. I would say fighter is the next best. Just
Mhm.
if, especially if you know you're going to go with that hunter subclass, because you
Yeah.
know you're going to be mixing it up. You're about combat. Take fighter. Especially if you're thinking of being that strength ranger.
Yeah, if you're thinking about going like twin long swords or
Yep.
something with that strength ranger, like yeah.
Go and get that fighter to get that extra fighting style.
Mhm.
Because even if nothing else, you can take defense as your other fighting style, +1 to AC permanently. It's a great boost. And then the two that I think are kind of in contention would be cleric and druid. I think either or would be really useful to have one level of. I'm probably going to lean towards cleric personally, just because clerics get so much at level 1.
They really do.
And having a couple cantrips, because you got to remember, rangers don't get cantrips.
No, they do not.
They're like paladins.
Except for mage hand if you're a swarm keeper.
Right. But that's where I really love the idea of having something like, that level in cleric and having sacred flame. Like you're now going to have this cantrip that does radiant damage, which is not commonly resisted, and cantrips scale with character level. So when you hit character level 5, now it's 2d8, goes up to 3d8. So you can do that radiant damage, and if you're facing something that resists non-magical weapons and you don't have a magical bow, now you have a way to hurt them reliably.
Absolutely. Now just because it's silly and in my brain and I've got to ask, if you, Bjorn, as a person, as a person now, if you had the Swarm Keeper swarm, what would your Fey creatures be?
Oh man, so I'm going for my own Fey creatures.
Because really, it's supposed to be they're like tiny Fey spirits of an animal that you've seen before,
right?
And that's your swarm. What is it?
It's a tough choice because honestly, part of me wants to go with like all these friggin' miniature cats. Because well, I have a cat. I like cats. Right. Always have. But because they're tiny, like little itty bitty cats, that might look kind of weird.
Yeah, they're like yay big.
Yeah. Honestly, I'd be really tempted to go with just really small ravens.
Ooh,
Just this
that's super
massive
cool.
amount of like iridescent, multicolored ravens. Just this
Just
full Asgard, Bifrost, Rainbow Bridge, servants of Odin. Like it would have to be all because you know I'm going to lean into that Norse shit
absolutely.
because this is
That's
what I
that's super dope.
like. It would either be that or because they're Fey and I feel like things can be whatever. Like friggin' music notes. Like, like,
Just have a bunch of fucking notes floating around.
yeah,
I'm into it.
and whenever they attack, like it would play some sort of song.
That would actually be really cool.
Yeah,
Just everyone's face becomes a steel drum,
yep.
and it's just under the sea.
Well, no, for me, like it would only play yakety sax.
That is fair.
Like
That
that's it. It
yeah,
would
no,
only
that
play
yeah,
yakety sax.
that's yeah, I'm down for it. I dig it.
Yeah. What about you? What about you? Like, what would
For
yours be?
me,
Yeah.
I would either go with a bunch of tiny lions because
Okay.
that's just hilarious to me.
It is.
Just, I mean, yeah, they're lions, so they'd still like kind of look ferocious, but they're this big.
All right.
Or I would choose ferrets because just the level of weirdness that is, I feel like matches up with my existence. Plus,
That's
like,
that's reasonable.
because I used to have one forever ago,
Mhm.
and having a ferret that I don't have to actually deal with and that I can magically command and whatnot, that sounds like the best ferret ever. Because they are lovely pets. You just have to wash them a lot, and it takes a lot of effort to train them. Which is fine, but I don't have time like that. So, tiny magical shenanigans creatures?
I'm loving it.
Give me that.
So kind of as we come into the end of our time here, if
Mm-hmm.
there's one big takeaway you would want people to have about the Ranger, like what is your big item for it?
I would say the ranger, if you care more about the story that you are crafting with your DM and as your character, than you care about the specific mechanics of the game, the ranger is going to be your best to build a compelling, interesting story.
Sure.
I really believe that to be true, and part of that is that it is my favorite, absolute favorite class. It was my first class, and we played such a long game with that, with a character that I absolutely love, and I kind of want to rebuild for one of a game with you. Although I'd want you to be a player alongside this character.
I'm for it. You just got to find a DM that'll run a game for us. I
I
have a
know, and we're
lot
both
of
forever
characters to run.
DMs.
I have two
Um,
characters in particular ready to go.
but yeah, that's really with the ranger. I think the ranger is the one that you can really take, and building a story with a ranger builds into your class abilities so much better than other classes.
Nice, and I would agree on that. I think if there's an item I would say for a takeaway, an important reminder. I mean, yeah, like I always come back to Constitution as a stat, and that's obviously associated with hit points. It's going to come back to the fact that it's a D10 hit die, and the reason I bring that up is there are three classes that use the D10: the fighter, the paladin, and the ranger. And that's why I think it's important is to look at the kind of combatant that the paladin and the fighter is capable of being and understand your role in combat and your role in a
Mm-hmm.
party. You are a badass. If you have a D10 or the mighty D12, you can mix it up in combat. You can fight, and there's a good chance you can afford to take a hit at some point. And I always think that's important for players to remember because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of us we don't want to get hit unless you're playing a barbarian. You want to. You're raging, half
Mm-hmm.
damage, but that's a separate item. Generally, you're not wanting to lose hit points.
Yeah.
But if you know you can afford to take at least one hit, maybe you'll get in there and you'll grapple that enemy that's getting a little too close to your
Mm-hmm.
wizard, or you'll interpose yourself between the enemy and your wounded rogue. Like these are things to think about for what your ranger would do, and don't just think about them as being like super lithe and nimble. They can be,
Yep.
but again,
And then if
think
they are, con can be a dump stat.
it can't, and it never will.
It can, it will. It's the fight that this channel will always have.
Go ahead, if you're watching, go ahead and comment. Let Jordan know why he's wrong, why hit points are actually important.
I'm not wrong, so there's that. I'm not even saying that hit points are always a dumb stat. They just are sometimes.
Oh, God. Kill the hell out of your next character.
I mean, your big metal die is gonna try to kill my character no matter what. Yep. So that's another reason for me to not really care about hit points. Because regardless of how high my max hit points are, that metal die is gonna crit me. And
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But we're almost to the end of the month, which means next month we're talking about trying to get a one-shot going again.
Yes, we are. And I've talked to a couple people in the Seattle theater community that are very interested. Any of you fans, if you are interested and want to get in on this, it is a possibility if we have an opening with people, especially if you're a fan and a friend, that it's very, very likely that you'll be in on this.
Yes, please.
Like Mike Gilson, when your classes are done, causing you to stress out more than anything should stress a person. Yeah. Hit us up.
Yes, please.
I'll just name check my friends in this. Oh, speaking of name checking people, I wanted to do this for like the past 4 or 5 episodes, and I'm sorry I'm rambling on in time, but I knew I was going to talk too much in this episode anyway because it's Rangers.
Sure.
My cousin is, if on a complete different thing than tabletop role playing games, if you like watching people play Call of Duty, my cousin is real good at it. I don't know when she got good at video games, because I never remembered her being good, but she's really good. She streams under the name Mercy Benzo, MERCYBENZO. Watch her shoot people, because she's really good at it. I've been meaning to drop her name on a video for a while now, and I keep forgetting, because I'm absent-minded as all get out.
But that is that is valid, and that is friggin' awesome, and should be checked out. I totally said I would signal boost a friend's podcast this week. I don't have the name of it in front of me, so Damon, I'm sorry. I will mention it next week.
And we'll put a link on the Facebook page. That's right. Other closing show things. Please catch up with us on our Facebook page.
Please do.
If you have past episodes that you want to watch or that you want to rewatch, they're all on our YouTube channel. They go up the Saturday after they run. The Saturday after we do them live, I should say, as long as I remember to hit export and all that, which I've been good at mostly. Yeah. Also, I'm gonna try to put more things up on our Instagram. We're so bad at Instagram. We're both people that don't take pictures a lot.
Once your show's done, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. But thank you for being with us. Thanks, you guys, for staying with us. And Bjorn, as we always say,
do something nice for yourself this weekend.
Catch you next time.
Later, guys.